Hello, good morning, students. Welcome in today's class through online teaching. Myself, Upma Meena, Assistant Professor of English, Government PG College, Vara. So, students, in today's class, we are going to discuss about the life and important facts related to Francis Bacon's life. We will study some important facts related to Francis Bacon's life, who was a famous essayist as well as philosopher of Elizabethan age. So let's start. The lifespan of Francis Bacon is 1561 to 1626. Francis Bacon was one of the leading figures in natural philosophy and in the field of scientific methodology in the period of transition from the Renaissance to the early modern era. As a lawyer, member of Parliament and Queen's Counsel, Bacon wrote on questions of law, state and religion, as well as on contemporary politics. But he also published texts in which he speculated on possible conceptions of society, and he pondered questions of ethics even in his works on natural philosophy. His famous work is The Advancement of Learning. In his work, he pondered questions of ethics and conceptions of society. After his studies at Trinity College, after it Cambridge and Thomas Grace in London, Wacom did not take up a post at a university but instead tried to start a political career. Although his efforts were not crowned with success during the era of Queen Elizabeth, but under James I he rose to the highest political office, Lord Chancellor. Bacon's international fame and influence spread during his last years, when he was able to focus his energies exclusively on his philosophical work, and even more so after his death, when English scientists of the Royal Circle took up his idea of a cooperative research institution in their plans and preparations for establishing the Royal Society. To the present day, Bacon is well known for his treatise on natural philosophy and for his doctrine of his idols, which he put forward in his early writings, as well as for the idea of a modern research institute, which he described in his famous book Nova Atlantis. Francis Bacon was born on 22 January 1561 at York House. So students, Francis Bacon, who was a famous essayist as well as a philosopher of Elizabethan age, he was born on 22 January 1561 at York House near the Strand in London. He was the son of Sir Nicholas Bacon. Lord Francis Bacon's father name was Sir Nicholas Bacon, who was a Lord Keeper of the Great Seal, and he was son of his second wife. Her name was Anne Bacon, and she was the daughter of the noted Renaissance humanist Anthony Cook. Parents' name of Francis Bacon was, his father's name was Nicholas Bacon and his mother's name was Anne Bacon. His mother's sister was married to William Cecil, who was first Baron Burghley, making Burghley Bacon's uncle. Biographers believe that Bacon was educated at home in his early years owing to poor health, which would plague him throughout his life. He received tuition from John Walsall, who was a graduate of Oxford with a strong leaning toward Puritanism, and after it he went up to Trinity College at the University of Cambridge on 5th April 1573 at the age of 12, where he lived for 3 years together with his older brother Anthony Bacon. Under the personal tutelage of Dr. John Whitgift, who was future Archbishop of Canterbury, Francis Bacon's education was conducted largely in Latin and followed the medieval curriculum. It was at Cambridge that Bacon first met Queen Elizabeth, who was impressed by his precious intellect and was accustomed to calling him the young Lord Keeper. Elizabeth Queen called him the young Lord Keeper. Francis Bacon was a patron of libraries and developed a functional system for the cataloging of books by dividing them into three categories: history, poetry, and philosophy, which could further be divided into more specific subjects and subheadings. Bacon was educated at Trinity College. After it, he educated at Cambridge, where he rigorously followed the medieval curriculum, largely in Latin. Bacon was the first recipient of the Queen's Counsel designation, which was conferred in 1597 when Elizabeth I of England reserved Bacon as her legal adviser. After the accession of James VI and first in 1603, Bacon was knighted. He was later created Baron Verulam in 1618 and Viscount St. Alban in 1621. Because he had no heirs, both titles became extinct upon his death in 1626 at 65 years. Francis Bacon was died in 1626 when he was 65 years old. Bacon died of pneumonia, with one account by John Aubrey stating that he had contracted the condition while studying the effects of freezing on preservation of meat. He is buried at St. Michael's Church, St. Albans, Hertfordshire. So students, Francis Bacon has been called the father of empiricism. His works argued for the possibility of scientific knowledge based only upon inductive reasoning and careful observation of events in nature. Most importantly, he argued science could be achieved by use of a spectacle and methodological approach, whereby scientists aim to avoid misleading themselves. Although his most specific proposals about such a method, and this method is called Baconian method, and Baconian method did not have a long lasting influence. The general idea of the importance and possibility of a spectacle methodology makes Bacon the father of the scientific method. This method was a new rhetorical and theoretical framework for science, the practical details of which are still central in debates about science and methodology. So students, this is all about the famous essayist Francis Bacon. He is well known as the father of English essays. He was born in 1561 and he was died in 1626 at the age of 65 years. He was contemporary of William Shakespeare and Edmund Spenser. He was one of the leading figures in natural philosophy and in the field of scientific methodology in the period of transition from the Renaissance to the early modern era. As a lawyer, member of parliament, and Queen's Counsel, Bacon wrote on questions of law, state, and religion, as well as on contemporary politics, but he also published texts in which he speculated on possible conceptions of society and he pondered questions of ethics even in his works on natural philosophy. The Advancement of Learning is famous works written by Francis Bacon.